Okay, here's the Jessica Taylor. I've got it. I got the document. Hold on. Okay, so it says on or about July 26, 2003, an individual whose identity is known to law enforcement as Witness 1 was walking his or her dog just west of Halsey Manor Road, Manorville, Suffolk County, New York. At that time, Witness 1 observed what appeared to be human remains, which prompted him or her to call 911. Upon arrival, members of the SCPD observed the remains of a female, later identified as Jessica Taylor. Miss Taylor was found lying on her back with her legs bent beneath her. Notably, the victim was decapitated, and both of Miss Taylor's arms had been severed from her body below her elbows. Moreover, a tattoo on the victim's torso had been severely obliterated by a sharp object. I can't say that. Obliterated, right? Severely I can't say that. That's like one of those words. I just can't get it out. But gross. So in other words, he probably like dug it out or some shit. Good morning, Patrick, and good morning, Kels. Good morning, Explore. Investigators believe the mutilation of the victim's tattoo, decapitation of her head, and dismemberment of her arms were acts perpetrated by Rex A. Heuermann to inhibit the identification of the victim via facial recognition, fingerprints, and or tattoo identification. So in the press conference, the DA said that there were 25, wait, let me see, I made a note. 25 stab wounds, including to her head. Her head and her genitals. He dismembered her face. Or disfigured her face. Ugh. During the initial investigation in Manorville in 2003, the victim's head, hands, and arms were not found at the scene, and their location remained unknown for approximately 8 years. Good Lord. On March 29th, 2011, Miss Taylor's skull, hands, and forearm were discovered along Ocean Parkway, just east of Gilgo Beach, Suffolk County, New York. Notably, Miss Taylor's remains were located on the same side of the road from where Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Melissa Bartholomew, Megan Watermelon, I can't talk today, and Amber Costello, the Gilgo Four, had been found just several months prior in December of 2010. Each of the Gilgo Four victims, as well as the skull, hands, and forearm of Miss Taylor, were recovered on the same side of the road and at a depth of within 50 feet from the edge of the parkway. Furthermore, Miss Taylor's remains were located less than a mile from where the Gilgo Four were discovered. See embedded image on the following page. So here is the graph of where Kels. This is the graph of where they were all found. Number 1 up here at the very top on the far right side of your screen, that pin is Jessica Taylor. Pin number 2 is Maureen Brainerd Barnes. Pin number 3 is Melissa Bartholomew. Pin number 4 is Megan Waterman. And pin number 5 is Amber Costello. Jessica Taylor was last seen on or about January 19th, 2023 in New York City. The investigation to date has established that in July 2003, Miss Taylor was working as a sex worker in the area of Midtown Manhattan. On July 21st, 2003, I got to get used to saying that, at approximately 8:41 p.m., Miss Taylor utilized her cellular phone to speak to her mother. Based on witness interviews and an analysis of her phone records, the Gilgo Homicide Task Force has learned that the two spoke for approximately 7 minutes. During that call, Miss Taylor had arranged to visit her mother on July 25th, 2003, in Poughkeepsie, New York, for her mother's birthday. Less than 2 hours after that, at approximately 10:22, the Taylor phone placed an outgoing call which lasted about 2 minutes. Thereafter, the Taylor phone records reveal no further outgoing calls or accepted incoming calls. So she talked to her mom, made an outgoing call for 2 minutes, and never had any activity again. On or about July 25th, 2003, when her daughter failed to arrive at her Poughkeepsie residence or answer any phone calls, Miss Taylor's mother notified law enforcement. At the time of Miss Taylor's disappearance, Rex A. Heuermann worked in the same vicinity as where Miss Taylor was known to street walk, i.e., work as a sex worker. Records seized during the execution of prior search warrants reveal Heuermann was in fact present in Midtown Manhattan on July 21st, 2003, the same date that Miss Taylor disappeared. On July 26th, 2003, and in the days thereafter, members of the SCPD canvassed the area around Halsey Manor Road, Manorville, in the vicinity where Miss Taylor's remains had been found. As a result, investigators spoke to a witness who had, on July 25th, 2003, at approximately 10:30 p.m., observed a dark-colored Chevy pickup backed into the same wooded area where Miss Taylor's body was found. Based upon their investigation, law enforcement determined that these observations would have occurred approximately 13 hours before Witness 1's 911 call. Notably, the investigation to date has established that defendant Heuermann purchased a 2002 dark-colored Chevy Avalanche on or about March 22nd, 2002. From Ramp Chevrolet in Port Jefferson Station, New York. Accordingly, on July 25th, 2003, at 10:30 p.m., defendant Heuermann would have been in possession of a vehicle matching the description of the one observed in the vicinity of where Miss Taylor's remains had been found on Halsey Manor Road. A forensic analysis of Rex A. Heuermann's digital devices, this is where it gets shocking, revealed the following. 1. That on or about July 28th, 2003, Rex A. Heuermann accessed a Newsday article entitled, quote, "Cops Seek Help in IDing Manorville Body," regarding the discovery of Miss Taylor's human remains. That online activity was subsequently deleted. And 2, on or about July 29th, 2003, Rex A. Heuermann conducted an internet search for a new Chevrolet Avalanche. Despite his 2002 Avalanche being just 1 year old. The analysis further shows Heuermann also attempted to delete this search for a new vehicle. They're retrieving shit from 2003. Google searches and shit from 2003. When did Google even start? They're going way back. So he was seen, well, his truck was seen. So he knew that truck was seen. He knew there was a dark colored truck seen backed into that area, right? I mean, this is what I'm gathering. Let me know if I'm picking up what they're laying down. That his truck was seen in that, backed into that vicinity. And then he went ahead and was searching for a different avalanche. Like he wanted the avalanche. But he looked for a light colored one like he was going to replace it maybe. Google started in 1999. I wonder, yeah, I mean, I guess maybe it was Google. They didn't say Google searches, but they just said searches. But it's crazy they're pulling this from 2003, right? Isn't that nuts? I know, Flo. We have been Googled for years. It's crazy. I mean, I would have never thought they could go back to that far back. Because back then, things were rather new. You know what I mean? Like, everybody had a Yahoo email. Yahoo was the big search engine. AOL, America Online. I mean, it's just crazy. That shit truly never disappears, guys. Like, that's proof. That is proof you have no privacy on the internet. So don't ever be fooled and think that you do. Because you clearly don't. South Carolina fire. I don't know what you mean. Okay. The analysis further shows Heuermann also attempted to delete his search for a new vehicle. Notably, this activity occurred just days after Miss Taylor was discovered and just after witnesses observed a vehicle matching the physical description of Heuermann's leaving the scene. There we go.
Bing bang.
Look at this. This is the actual. This is where he actually searched and looked. Microsoft Windows. Look at this ish down here where it says source. Down here on the bottom right. Look at it says Microsoft FAT32 temporary. It's in his Windows/temporary internet files. And it says deleted. And if you delete your temporary internet files, they can still get them. They can still get them. I don't think I know anything about a fire, Myron. Finally, while the make and model of the vehicle Heuermann searched for is the same as his O2 vehicle, the exterior is different. Arrival blue, as well as another in Summit white, which are significantly brighter when compared to the dark green O2 Chevy Avalanche. Hairs recovered from Jessica Taylor. During the course of this investigation, Miss Taylor's body was examined by a forensic scientist with the Suffolk County Crime Laboratory, which revealed that Miss Taylor had been decapitated, dismembered at her arms below her elbows, and revealed, quote, irregular disruption, oh my God, of the victim's nipples and the obliteration of her tattoo. During the examination of Miss Taylor's body, a male human hair was recovered, specifically from a surgical drape that had been underneath the victim. A subsequent examination of the male hair underneath Taylor led to the determination that it was a human head hair with Caucasian European characteristics. However, it was based on the DNA testing capabilities at the SCCL, unsuitable for further DNA testing at that time. On or about August 24th, 2023, the Gilgo Homicide Task Force brought a cutting of the male hair underneath Taylor to an outside forensics laboratory, which specializes in forensic mitochondrial analysis. On or about, that's hair. On or about February 1st, 2024, Forensic Lab Number 2 issued a report concluding that the mitochondrial DNA profile developed from the male hair underneath Taylor and the profile developed from the defendant's buccal swab are the same. Then they go into the statistics. While 99.96% of the North American population can be excluded as the contributor for the male hair underneath Taylor, defendant Heuermann cannot be excluded as the contributor of the said hair recovered underneath the remains of Jessica Taylor. On or about March 8th, 2024, the Gilgo Homicide Task Force brought a cutting of the male hair underneath Taylor and a DNA extract of Rex A. Heuermann's buccal swab to an outside independent laboratory. On or about April 24th, not too long ago, Forensic Laboratory Number 1 issued a report indicating it had developed a nuclear DNA profile for not only the male hair underneath Taylor, but also from Rex Heuermann's buccal swab. Forensic Laboratory Number 1 was able to conduct a one-on-one autosomal nuclear DNA comparison, and they matched it to Rex. Let's just put it that way. So 2 forensic laboratories have now independently determined that the hair from the surgical drape underneath Jessica Taylor were Rex Heuermann's. Heuermann's family travel in relation to the disappearance of Jessica Taylor. As part of the ongoing investigation, the Gilgo Homicide Task Force has also established that Heuermann's wife and children were out of state at the time of Miss Taylor's disappearance. How did this always happen when his wife was out of state? And why was his wife and children always out of state? But it seems like, let's see what the dates are on this. Summer. So maybe they were gone for summer vacation without dad. Okay, so they were out of state at the time of Miss Taylor's disappearance and murder. A consistent theme attributable to the defendant for each of the charged homicides thus far, which have allowed the defendant unfettered time and opportunity to execute these crimes. Specifically in 02 and 03, defendant Heuermann's daughter, Victoria, was a kindergarten student at McKenna Elementary School located in Massapequa Park, New York. At the time, Victoria was classmates with an individual whose identity is also known to law enforcement as witness number 2. Can you imagine you went to kindergarten with Rex Heuermann's freaking daughter, and now you're drug into this case? Well, they were in Virginia or Vermont for this one. They weren't in California. So anyways, based on post-arrest interviews with witnesses, including witness number 2's family and Victoria Heuermann, the Gilgo Homicide Task Force has learned that at the conclusion of the kindergarten school year, Miss Ellerup and her 2 children vacationed with witness 2's family. So they were with another family. So they're with another family, and he's at home getting sex workers and dismembering them. The heck? Weird. Okay. They vacationed from July 20th, 03 through on or about the 27th of July in 03 at Smuggler's Notch Resort, which is located in Jeffersonville, Vermont. Rex Heuermann did not attend this trip. So now, I got to be nosy and look up this damn resort and see where they were staying. 3-star hotel. Let's see here. Let's take a look at Smuggler's Notch. Oh, how beautiful. Must be nice, huh? I mean, this was a long time ago. Look at the pool, though. This is a long time ago. This place is old. But look, skiing. But that was the summertime. So here Rex's family is doing shit like this. And he's at home getting sex workers and unaliving them. And It does have skiing. It has pools. It has gamings, laser tag and shit. Look at that sky, though. Wow. Looks like they have a lot of activities. But yeah, that's where they were. Look how pretty that is. Interesting. Okay, back to the document. These witness accounts have been corroborated via telephone records and electronic data seized during the execution of the July 2023 search warrants. For example, agents of the Gilgo Homicide Task Force seized AT&T records, which detail calls made to and from the Heuermann residence in July 03. These records show that during the aforementioned family vacation, the landline telephone associated with the Heuermann residence was located at 105 First Avenue, Massapequa Park, made several phone calls to a telephone number bearing an 802 area code. Further investigation has tied this phone number to Smuggler's Notch Resort. Hi, Global. Good to see you. Thus, investigators believe defendant Heuermann made these calls from Target residence, which is their home in Massapequa Park, to his family staying in Jeffersonville, Vermont. And then they pull the phone records from AT&T home landline records from 03. But they also they said they did not redact these other phone numbers because they're wondering who they are. And they're saying if you know any of these phone numbers, to let them know. And there's numbers here from New Jersey, Illinois, Pennsylvania, and then his calls to his family in Vermont. This is his date book. Holy shit. Okay. Finally, in July 2023, the Gilgo Homicide Task Force seized a hard drive from the basement of Target residence. So last summer, an extraction and analysis of that hard drive revealed that it contained a Palm Pilot backup file, which appeared to contain defendant Heuermann's date book or calendar for relevant dates. The Gilgo Homicide Task Force subsequently hired a digital forensic expert who, by utilizing native Palm software, was able to convert the above data into a readable format. This is pretty amazing. Because Palm Pilots, right, that shit's old. Like, no one uses Palm Pilots anymore. But we have a date book for him from July 10th, 03 to July 28th. It says Rabco, Cooling Tower. Let's go through these really quick. Amity meeting, meet Bill Irons for 4th floor, Camp Smith match, inspect 103rd Avenue, meet Kenny Mainco, something, Greenwich meeting, date of birth for something, A lot of work stuff. 11:30 meet Gary at 609 Greenwich, pick up Derek at 6 a.m. for airport. Dr. Peller, 2:30 appointment. Elevator, Black Hall, Meet Geo I Raver at office to set up for court. L. Lanza at office, for fuck's sake. L. Lanza at office at 11 a.m. to go over West 23rd Street. Wife in Vermont at Smugs. And those are all circled. He's just got site things. Okay, Derek at house. Who the fuck is Derek? When his wife was in Vermont, Derek at house to cut 6x6 post on bandsaw. He has it twice. Derek at house to cut 6x6 post on bandsaw. So he picked up this Derek on the 16th at the airport and then This Derek was at his freaking house cutting posts. Concrete pour at 21 Southwest on Monday, July 28th, 03. Isn't that crazy, Explore Corps? I can't believe, like, Palm Pilots, they're getting schedules from those. It's crazy. Based on the foregoing, the investigation to date has clearly established defendant Heuermann's wife and children were indeed located out of state during the time of Jessica Taylor's disappearance. Accordingly, the murders of all 4 charged victims and now Miss Taylor occurred at times when defendant Heuermann's wife and children were out of state. The 1993 discovery of human remains of Sandra Castilla. On or about November 20th, 1993, 2 individuals, while hunting in a wooded area of Southampton in the vicinity of 50 Old Fish Cove Road, North Sea, Suffolk County. Let's see what that looks like. This is where Sandra Castilla was found. Let's see what that area looks like. Okay, so it's probably this wooded area up here or behind these homes. God knows. God knows. So Rex Heuermann drove down this road and dumped remains back in the early 90s. And these houses look, it looks like these houses have been there a while. But he went back into these woods. Damn. Okay. Okay, so her date of birth was 8/25/65. The victim, who had been 28 years old at the time, was lying on her back with her arms outstretched over her head. Oh my God. The victim, who had been 28 years old at the time, was lying on her back with her arms outstretched over her head with her uncovered legs spread apart. The victim's shirt had been pulled up over her torso and head, exposing her breasts. The victim had numerous sharp force injuries to inter alia, her face, torso, breasts, left thigh, and vaginal area. Miss Castilla was a native of Trinidad and Tobago, but had been living in New York prior to her disappearance and murder. Hairs recovered from the remains of Sandra. During the course of the 1993 investigation, Miss Castilla's body was examined by a forensic scientist with the SCCL, which led to the recovery of 3 hairs from the victim's remains. One of the victim's right arm, one from a tape lift of a striped shirt above the victim's head, as well as one from a tape lift of the white shirt above the victim's head. In 2014, well before the identification of Rex A. Heuermann as a suspect in Miss Castilla's murder, the hairs on Castilla were sent to Forensic Laboratory Number 2, which was able to develop a unique mitochondrial DNA profiles for each of the hairs on Castilla. On or about August 1st, 2014, Forensic Laboratory Number 2 received an extract of John Bittrolff's buccal swab. Forensic Lab Number 2 was able to develop a mitochondrial DNA profile from John Bittrolff's buccal swab and subsequently compared it to the mitochondrial DNA profiles that had previously generated for each of the hairs on Castilla. At the conclusion of its analysis, Forensic Lab 2 was able to exclude John Bittrolff and his maternal relatives as contributors of the hair on Castilla. So I'm sure Rex Heuermann was just thrilled that this John was being blamed for these murders, right? So has it come out? Did this John Bitleroff even do anything? Do you guys know? Because I don't know that part of this. I know he was accused, but is he still accused of some crimes or what? M. McAtack, I've driven past the Heuermann house, an absolute dump in a nice neighborhood. I know, I feel bad for those neighbors. Recently, the Gilgo Homicide Task Force requested Forensic Lab 2 undergo forensic testing, specifically comparing the DNA profiles for each of the hairs on Castilla, which had been developed back in 2014, prior to Heuermann emerging as a suspect for Miss Castilla's murder, to known samples provided by the Gilgo Homicide Task Force. On or about February 29th of 2024, Forensic Lab 2 issued a report concluding that the DNA profile developed from the male hair on Castilla and the profile developed from the defendant's buccal swab are the same. So they matched that to Rex, that he cannot be excluded. Prior to Miss Castilla's disappearance and murder, defendant Heuermann had been living with a female individual who they're hiding her disappearance. Thank you so much, Global, for letting me know that. He was convicted and imprisoned for 2 women. Okay. So what they're trying to do is connect. They were trying to figure out whose was whose, right? They were trying to connect these all to this John, but then they weren't panning out and matching up to John, right? So weird. So did Rex Heuermann use burlap because John used burlap? Was he trying to frame these murders on this John guy? Do we think that's what it was? Because if he searched him, he would know what he did, right? So his girlfriend is known as witness number 3.
Bing bang.
During the course of this investigation, the GHTF was able to secure a buccal swab from witness 3, which was secured via her consent. So they caught up with his ex-girlfriend this year in 2024. Welcome back, Kendo. So they caught up with Rex's ex-girlfriend from the 90s. If she lived there, where was she? Where was she? He mutilated Sandra Castilla. Where was the live-in girlfriend when he was doing this mutilation? And she's being not identified. So do we think she's going to be a witness? Another deal? I wonder. So they concluded that the female hair was witness number 3. But now they're saying here that witness number 3, who had but no longer resided at the target residence prior to Miss Castilla's disappearance. So they're saying that she moved out before Miss Castilla went missing. On or about March 8th, 2024, the GHTF brought a cutting of the hairs on Castilla, as well as a DNA extract of witness number 3's buccal swab, to forensic laboratory number 1. And they matched it to her. She could not be excluded, and neither could Rex. Long story short, and then it says that both laboratories were able to forensically tie witness 3, who had resided at Rex Heuermann's prior to Miss Castilla's disappearance and murder, to the female hair recovered on her remains. Shane Culkin in the house. Hello, Shane.
Coming in hot, just like the fajita.
Good to see you, Shane. So they matched the female hair to her, to witness 3, and then the foregoing provides further support that Rex A. Heuermann mutilated, murdered, and transported the body of Sandra Castilla to Southampton. So does that mean she was at the house and then he transported her from the house? Is that what that means? So this, I wonder why she moved out. But there's also an unidentified female hair that they did not identify. It's so good to see you, Shane. So there's one unidentified female hair that was on Sandra. And then we have this. This is, I kind of read over the 2 new victims where the hairs were found, but this lists all of the victims. And they were discovered in 93, 2003, 2010, and 2011. But when, actually, Global, do you know when he met Asa? When did he meet Asa? Heuermann's unfettered access to target residence during the disappearance and murder of Miss Sandra Castilla. Based on post-arrest interviews with witnesses, the GHTF has learned that witness 3, which is the lady that moved out, began living together in 91. She lived there for 2 years. In September of 93, approximately 2 months before Miss Castilla's disappearance and murder, witness 3 moved out. Prior to witness 3 moving out, Heuermann's mother had moved out of the residence. This lady lived there with him and his mom. I can't. So creepy.
I heard Eduardo with like a G.
Sorry. Mailman. Prior to witness 3, okay, so wait, we read that. Heuermann's mother moved out. Based on the foregoing, neither Heuermann's mother nor witness 3 were living at the residence during the time of Sandra Castilla's murder. Accordingly, the murders of all 4 charged victims, and now the murders of Miss Taylor and Miss Castilla, occurred at times when defendant Heuermann would have had unfettered time to execute his plans for each victim without any fear that his family or others residing at the target residence would uncover or learn of his involvement in these crimes. Newly discovered digital evidence. As detailed in Exhibit A. That's actually Bella. That's Bella Rose. Following Heuermann's arrest, numerous search warrants were executed at his residence, which culminated in the seizure of over 350 electronic devices. 350. In the months subsequent to Heuermann's arrest, the GHTF has attempted to extract and analyze data from each of these devices. An analysis of these devices has revealed Heuermann's significant collection of violent bondage and torture porn, currently dating back to 1994. My God in heaven. This is before, like, I was even on AOL. I got on AOL in 1998. In 1994, he had a collection of all this shit. Pornographic images accessed by Heuermann include, but are not limited to, and this is a major trigger warning, this is disgusting, breast mutilation, vaginal torture, sex substitution, i.e., penetration with an object, the sexualization of decapitated women. Ooh. Oh.
God almighty.
Bondage and whipping, which notably and largely coincide with how the remains of Sandra and Jessica and Valerie Mack were discovered. Moreover, during the analysis of a hard drive recovered from the basement of Heuermann's residence, the Gilgo Homicide Task Force recently discovered a Microsoft Word document entitled HK 2002 to 2004. This document was discovered in an unallocated space. Allocated space refers to stored data that a computer is using. On the other hand, unallocated space refers to available or unstructured data, which is not readily viewable and able to be opened by a user. Unallocated space frequently contains room for new data or old data that has been deleted, sent to the recycle bin, overwritten, etc. For example, when a user deletes data, many users believe the file has been purged forever. However, deleting a file only tells the computer that the space previously occupied by that file is now available.
Bing bang.
Yikes. The deleted data will remain in unallocated space until another file is written over it. Thank God he kept these old hard drives. Why did he keep them? Why didn't he destroy this? Because this was his trophy work? What? I mean, the hell? Or did he truly think it deleted? He probably truly thought it got deleted. Data contained within unallocated space can be retrieved via computer forensic extraction called file carving. A forensic analysis of the HK 2002 to 2004 document reveals that it was not only a locally created draft, but also recovered from a hard drive that indicates it was utilized by Heuermann himself. While the original document appears to have been created in 2000, this iteration of the Word document titled HK 02 to 04 appears to have been created and modified between 01 and 02. Based on the foregoing and the facts set forth, the task force members believe 2000 or 2002 to be a reference to calendar years. The task force members also believe, based on the foregoing and facts set forth, the Microsoft Word document to be a, quote, planning document, utilized by Heuermann to methodically blueprint and plan out his kills. Hereinafter referred to as HK planning document. Holy shit. We've got a list, folks.
Ooh, that will scare somebody.
The HK planning document begins with 4 category section with the underline headings of problems, supplies, DS, and TRG. Let's take a look at this document. Problems. This is his list of problems. DNA, tire marks, blood stains, fingerprints, MO, plastic bag / cat litter. Witness, trace source of supplies, foot shoe prints, photos, misleaders, police stop, truck stuck, fingerprints in gloves, plastic bags matched to box, hair and fiber, supplies, booties, lye acid, police scanner, rope cord, saw cutting tools, hair nets, photo film, burn can, foam drain cleaner, body wash wipes, tarps, drop cloths, medical gloves, bags and tape, large electric clips, ratchet cargo strap. Oh my God. You're looking at a list of a serial killer stating the problems with his kills and the supplies needed. Now, DS stands for dump site. Dump site 1, Mill Road. Dump site 2, ? Dumpster site. Next time, recon dumpster locations. TRG, let's see, what is that? Target or victim. TRG, target. Target 1, Megan, ? Small is good. Unknown with black in parentheses. Those are his targets. Megan, small is good, and unknown black. Based on the Gilgo Homicides Task Force training and experience, the members believe problems to be a guide on issues to avoid apprehensions, supplies to be a reference to what supplies needed to carry out the serial murders, to avoid apprehension and avoid leaving behind DNA evidence. Thank you so much, Shane, for your super chat. He says, this guy is the most terrifying since Israel Keys. Absolutely. It's terrifying. Thank you so much, Shane. It's very generous of you. The DS appears to be an acronym for dump site. And Valerie Mack and Jessica Taylor were located in the vicinity of Mill Road and Ocean Parkway. Under that same heading, a note regarding dumpster sites references how to dispose of human or of physical evidence, and it says dispose of the following. With regards to the DS, it is important to note that the human remains of Jessica Taylor, discovered in 2003, as well as the remains of Valerie Mack, discovered in 2000, were dumped in 2 locations. I think it's Heuermann kills is HK. And everyone that Rex unalived was tiny. On March 29th, 2011, Miss Taylor's torso, skull, and hands recovered near Ocean Parkway in a second dump site, which is the DS. On April 4th, 2011, Miss Mack's skull, hands, and right foot were recovered near Ocean Parkway, also a second dump site. The recent discovery of this document prompted the April 2024 cadaver search in the Manorville area, which did not yield the recovery of additional sets of human remains, thereby reinforcing the task force members' belief that the HK planning document refers to Heuermann's preparations for either Jessica Taylor and or Valerie Mack. The HK planning document on Heuermann's computer then delves into a 3-category section. The headings are pre-prep, prep, and post-event. Pre-prep is vehicle inspection, engage T1, recon DS1, locate DS2, weather report, recon vidcams, recon pickup zone for vidcams. Prep, set up stage, holding area, build table, crossbar, hardpoint, post-event, destroy file, change tires as in italics, burn gloves, dispose of pics, have story set. The Gilgo Homicide Task Force members believe prep to be a guide on steps to take in advance of a homicide. Inspecting his vehicle, engaging the target, conducting a recon or survey of video surveillance cameras in pertinent areas, including the pick zone, the location where a victim is picked up, and checking the weather to ensure for optimal conditions. Prep, on the other hand, appears to be a reference to steps taken closer in time to homicide, i.e., setting up the staging area, holding area, and table, crossbar, hardpoint for the victim. Specifically, the prep section has 5 entries: setup stage, holding area, build table, crossbar, and hardpoint. The Gilgo Homicide Task Force members are aware that a crossbar is often placed underneath tables to provide further structural support for heavier objects being placed on a table. Additionally, the TF members are also aware that a hard point refers in the field of sexual, quote, suspension bondage to a fixed attachment point in the ceiling that supports the weight of an individual being suspended off the ground, which is corroborated by Heuermann's specific interest in pornography, where the subject is either suspended, tortured, bound to a table, decapitated, and or their breasts are mutilated, which is consistent with the foregoing notations regarding suspension, as well as the condition of the victims described herein. Oh my God. This is seriously a horror flick. So who's this dude that came to his house and cut these posts for him? Was this used to suspend people in the air? Who fucking helped him? Additionally, post-event appears to reference a checklist of tasks following the event or homicide to avoid apprehension. Destroy file, change tires, burn gloves, dispose of pics taken of the victim, and have story set. Alibi, story for family upon their return, or law enforcement should an inquiry be made. The HK planning document continues to further expound on preparatory measures such as a specific recon steps taken, packaging a body for transport, and steps to inhibit victim ID and avoid leaving behind DNA evidence. Look at this. Recon reports, vid cams on Lie Route 112 to Route 110, 33, old. Vid cams on SS Parkway, Route 231 to exit 30, 10, old. Is this what Katie did in her neighborhood, Katie Proudfoot? Did she recon all the cameras in the area and then tell them to go to bed? T1 info, cell 917-294-4402, beep voicemail 917-898-9854, old. Thanks, Global, for that. So maybe around 96, 97. Thank you. Creepy. Take down pickup. Hunt too long. Seen in area too long. Remember, don't charge gas. Recon for vid cams in pickup area next time. Body prep. Oh, Lord have mercy. This is disgusting.
I want this to be crystal clear.
Wash body inside and all cavities. Remove trace evidence, fingerprints, hair. Remove trace DNA. How did he even know what fucking trace DNA was back then? The fuck? How did this motherfucker know what trace evidence was in '02? Holy shit. Remove ID marks, tattoos, marks. Remove marks from torture. He spells things wrong too. Remove marks from torture? I mean, what do? Carve it out? What is wrong with, oh my God. Remove head and hands. Package for transport. Dispose of the following: tools and devices. T1 clothes and personal items. Drop cloths, wipes and towels. Ugh. Props, toys, wood items. Anything that touched T1. What you wore, meaning what Rex wore. Destroy book and computer files. Burn gloves. Dispose of box of plastic bags. Dispose of box of plastic. It says BAS, but I think he means BAG, but bag to avoid trace. The body prep section above includes a note to remove head and hands. Which clearly relates to the condition of Jessica and Valerie Mack's remains, as both victims were decapitated and dismembered at their arms below their elbows. Additionally, each of these victims' remains, as well as the remains of the Gilgo Four, were indeed, quote, packaged for transport, as this section indicates to do, further increasing the significance of this document's presence on Heuermann's laptop computer. Finally, this section also includes a note to, quote, remove ID marks. The examination of Miss Taylor's body in '03 indicated numerous sharp, linear injuries to the victim's skin, specifically around where Miss Taylor's tattoo had been located, which investigators believe was intended to inhibit the ID of Miss Taylor's tattoo. Furthermore, the dispose of the following lists destroy computer files. The presence of this HK planning document in an unallocated space demonstrates his efforts to destroy or delete computer files. In the things to remember section, there are notes indicating steps to take, quote, next time. Considering a hit to the face or neck, quote, next time. Or using heavier rope for the neck as the, quote, light rope broke under stress of being tightened. He tightened the rope so fucking tight that it broke, y'all. Sherry, be careful today. Have a good afternoon. Heuermann further opines on the importance of sleep to not only avoid, quote, problems, but also to increase what Heuermann refers to as, quote, playtime. Things to remember. Sound travels, i.e. bird outside. Control the amount of air in and out to control the noise made. Get sleep before hunt. Too tired creates problems. Hit harder. Too many hit to take down. Consider a hit to the face or neck next time for takedown. More sleep and noise control equals more playtime. Use push pins to hang drop cloths from ceiling, not tape. Use heavy rope for neck. Light rope broke under stress of being tightened. As set forth above and embedded here below, The Gilgo Homicide Task Force members believe these references to next time indicate Heuermann's prior experiences and what changes to implement moving forward. Take down pickup. Hunt too long. Seen an area too long. Remember, don't charge gas. Recon for vid cams in pickup area next time. Moreover, the references and the things to remember utilize push pins to hang drop cloths from ceiling, not tape, as well as manifested concerns regarding sound travel. Indicate the reference incidents would have occurred indoors and likely inside the target residence, which is a controlled environment. That Heuermann would not only be familiar with, but an area in which Heuermann would have had access to said tools and supplies. Drop cloths would also serve the twin purposes of limiting the spread of forensic evidence, such as blood, to a confined area, as well as controlling sound travel, which would lead to more, quote, playtime. Which is believed to be a reference to sexual and mutilation acts perpetrated on victims. Additionally, with Heuermann's family vacationing out of state, the defendant would have had unfettered time and exclusive access to the target residence. Finally, there's more. Finally, the HK planning document on Heuermann's laptop includes a notes section. Notes, spur of the moment, cover, Stockholm Syndrome. The more you do, the more clues you give. Look at the painting. What, why, who? Organized versus disorganized. And he does not know how to spell. Page 162. Sex substitution. Page 163. Page 175. Mutilation equals disorganized. The investigation to date has established the source of these notes, i.e. the Mindhunter paperback authored by John Douglas. I wonder how John Douglas feels that he gave Rex Heuermann a planning document. I've never read this book. The first edition was published in 1996 concerning the criminal profiling of serial killers, and now we have like Brian Koberger being taught under this Ramsland lady. Ugh, sick. For example, the notes section of the HK planning document includes the following notation. Page 162 of said book does indeed reference sex substitution, i.e. penetration with an object, as Douglas describes the, quote, rather horrible sexual mutilization and masturbation over the victim's body, but no intercourse. The penetration with the umbrella and pen were acts of sexual substitution. Great book. Yikes.
Street town, dude.
On 163, Douglas opines that the perpetrator of such a crime, i.e. sex substitution, would be a disorganized killer who would be compulsive and perhaps, quote, living with his parents. Accordingly, this notation contained in the HK planning document is consistent with the aforementioned book in page number and subject matter. The notes section of the HK planning document also includes the following notation. Mutilation equals disorganized. In page 175 core of the first edition Mindhunter book, Douglas describes a woman's screams and shortly thereafter how the woman's throat had been cut and her naked body mutilated. Douglas further asserts on page 175 of said book, is this book like fiction or nonfiction? Makita coming in hot with 5 memberships, guys. Welcome. Thank you so much. That is so generous of you. Thank you.
I think you've got a weed
Oh, shit.
down
Douglas further asserts on page 175 that mutilation is a sign of disorganized personality type. Accordingly, this notation contained in the document is consistent with the book. The notes section also contains look at the painting, what, why, who.
You're awesome.
On page 19 of said book, Douglas notes that while he was still at the FBI, he always advises agents, quote, if you want to understand the artist, the perpetrator, oh, he's an ex-FBI agent. Gotcha. That wrote a book about, got you, serial killers. Okay. Interesting. You learn something new every day. Y'all are so brilliant in here, man. I'm telling you. Thank you again, Makita, for those 5 memberships. We've looked at many paintings over the years and talked extensively to most accomplished artists. Accordingly, the note above, contained in Heuermann's laptop, to look at the painting, yet again points to the aforementioned book as a source of Heuermann's commentary. Finally, the other notations contained in the planning document, spur the moment cover, Stockholm Syndrome, the more you do, the more clues you give, also each contained in the said book, and all pointing it as a source of Heuermann's notations. The foregoing is corroborated in part by Heuermann's possession of other serial killer books by John Douglas. During the initial search warrant in July of 2023, the task force observed that Heuermann possessed in his home office the book entitled The Cases That Haunt Us, which outlines the facts, evidence, and victimology of several notable serial murder cases. The Gilgo Homicide Task Force members believe that the totality of circumstances surrounding the document, including Heuermann's attempt to delete its existence, points to it as Heuermann's self-education and homework. On the topic of carrying out serial sexual murder, Heuermann's pointed concerns regarding avoiding being captured on video surveillance, leaving behind forensic evidence, what supplies to purchase, how to package a body for subsequent transportation to dump sites, wash body inside and all cavities prior to package for transport, avoiding a paper trail, tying him to crimes or crime scenes. Remember, don't charge gas. Concerns regarding noise or air travel, which could inhibit playtime, and how to improve next time, further confirm merely by looking within the 4 corners of the document itself its relevance in this regard. The belief is further corroborated when looking at a litany of external factors, including how the 6 victims, now attributable to Heuermann, were indeed packaged and transported. And in the case of Miss Taylor, how her head, hands, and tattoo were removed and or obliterated, consistent with the document's instructions. Furthermore, an analysis of Heuermann's computers confirms that the document was in an unallocated space and had hence been deleted. If convicted on the current charges, defendant Rex A. Heuermann faces multiple sentences of life without parole. And then it says here that based on the serious, heinous nature of these serial murders and the strength of the people's case, the life incarceration the defendant faces upon conviction, the extreme measures the defendant took to avoid apprehension for over a decade, and defendant's indictment on these additional charges, which now incorporate a 5th and 6th victim, the people remain steadfast that the only means to ensure the defendant's return to court is to remand the defendant without bail. Dated today in Suffolk County, New York. Raymond A. Tierney, District Attorney. So there you have it. That is the disturbing details that came out in this new bail document for Rex Heuermann. I am shook, guys. This is sicker than I could have ever imagined. I really feel like this is going to be, like, in history, probably one of the worst serial killers ever. and all of this stuff documented, and the fact that they are able to dig it up from the 90s, from 94. From 94. He's got Palm Pilots and stuff, so it's nuts. And it's crazy that it is very dark and wicked.